This is a little story. It's not related to anything. It's a story that was published in Puffin Post, which is a brilliant magazine that you can subscribe to. And actually, I'll give you a little bit of history very briefly. I had intended to write this book, Dink and Dings and the Frightening Things, as a poem, a long poem. Any of you ever written a poem?
Yeah.
I think it's quite hard. I tried to make it rhyme and I got about a page, and I was like, it's just too hard! So I stopped. And then eventually I wrote it as a book. So anyway, fast forward, I wrote this story. I was asked to write a story for Puffin Post, and I did. And I got to the end. I put my full stop on there, and I was like, "How? This is my chance to redeem myself. I'm going to write a poem." So I went back and I rewrote the entire thing as a poem. I'm not sure if it's a very... I'm not even... There are some places that I'm not even sure it rhymes. But I thought I'd read it to you anyway. This is called... I'm going to stand up actually. This is called The Tale of Rodney Head-falls-off.
Rodney Head-falls-off.
Thank you. This is the strange tale of Rodney G. Rudd, which starts with a sneeze and ends in a flood. It's hard to believe, but try not to scoff as you learn of the fate of Rodney Head-falls-off. Who gave him that name, no one can recall, though it may have been Sophie surprisingly tall. Young Rodney was normal in every respect. For a boy of his age, he's what you'd expect, except for one thing. A peculiar condition which meant when he sneezed, his head went, well, missing. It flew from his neck and fell down to the floor, then bounced on the ground or rolled out of the door. It went back onto his neck with relative ease, but it only stayed there till the next time he sneezed. Rodney had to admit it wasn't much fun, and it made it quite hard to get anything done. To make matters worse, his head made him famous. He'd often end up in local newspapers. Then, late one day at the Rudds family home, Rodney heard the ring ringing of the old telephone. Rodney picked up the phone and answered, "Hello? Is that Rodney? Oh, good evening. I'm Fate, don't you know?" said the voice on the phone. "That is Dr. P. Fate, and I might have a cure for your curious state. You see, I don't deal with your standard diseases, but only in problems relating to sneezes. I'm sure I can help, for in 100 cases my patients stopped sneezing on a permanent basis. Come to my surgery first thing tomorrow, and I'll put an end to your head-losing sorrow." Rodney couldn't believe it. A cure for his sneezing! He found the idea most exceedingly pleasing. He relayed the good news to his father and mother, who danced round with joy and hugged one another. "If this doctor is right, you'll be cured forever. We'll go first thing tomorrow, whatever the weather." The following morning, Rodney woke to a din. Rain battered the roof and was soon flooding in. "Rodney, get dressed!" his mum frantically urged. "It's a rainstorm, a flood, the whole town is submerged." "We must get to the roof," cried his dad, "on the double, before the house fills with water and we're all in big trouble." The family clambered up onto the roof, and Rodney then witnessed the terrible truth. The street was a river, the town was a sea. It was all under water, but for roofs and tall trees. "But the doctor's expecting us!" Rodney cried out in terror. "You said that we'd see him, whatever the weather." "There's a flood!" cried his mum. "We couldn't have known. I'm sure Dr. Fate will agree to postpone." "Just my luck," grumbled Rodney, wringing out his wet clothes. Then suddenly he felt a slight twitch in his nose. He scratched it and rubbed it and gave it a squeeze. But too late to stop. Rodney let out a sneeze. Achoo! Pop! went his head and fell onto the roof, then bounced into the river of rain with a sploosh. "Rodney!" cried his dad. "Oh no!" cried his mum. But too late to save him. Rodney's head was long gone. It seemed all was lost, and his head gone for good. But this tale takes a twist, as all good tales should. Rodney's head did get found, and not a second too late. It washed up at the door of one Dr. P. Fate. "Ah, Rodney," said the doctor as he opened the door. "You're here right on time. Let's get on with your cure." And so, by the time he was put back together, Rodney's sneezing was cured, thanks to fate and the weather. Soon, people stopped calling him Rodney Head-falls-off, though he now lost an arm every time that he coughed. And that is the strange tale of Rodney G. Rudd, that starts with a sneeze and ends as it should. There we go.